During the first of our 8 weeks together, we're going to learn about what a dinosaur is, technically. We start with sort of a layman's terms definition of dinosaurs. This definition reads, a dinosaur was a reptile or bird-like animal with an upright posture that spent most of its time on land. As we progress through the course, we will find this to be an insufficient definition, but it's a good place to start. Let's take this definition apart to help us visualize what it has to tell us. It really works as a sort of dichotomous key. Holding their legs beneath them gives dinosaurs the upright walking posture, which is important for many reasons. In the definition, it works to segregate dinosaurs from most of the other groups of reptiles we are familiar with, which bear a sprawling leg posture. Birds and dinosaurs have legs that are upright, held underneath their bodies like our own. This is true whether the dinosaur is bipedal, meaning it walks on 2 legs, or quadrupedal, which is 4-legged. The part of the definition about dinosaurs spending most of their time on land is there to rule out marine reptiles like mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, and the like. It is also to rule out the flying reptiles, or pterosaurs. Do not get the idea that dinosaurs were hydrophobic creatures incapable of swimming. They just did not live in the water. We will discover later that some dinosaurs may have grayed the area between dinosaurs and pterosaurs, too, by taking wing. But we'll save that for the end of the course. The technical method of defining organisms is called taxonomy. Defining organisms is done by sorting them by similarities and differences and then assigning similar organisms into groups defined by the shared traits of those organisms. As the process was formally begun as a scientific discipline, the Swedish botanist Carl von Linné, or you've probably heard his Latinized name Linnaeus, formalized and standardized the process. His concept, which still matches what we do today, was to bin organisms in a nested hierarchy from large groups that shared general similarities down to smaller, more specific groups that are increasingly alike. This grouping system arrives at each individual species, with the final grouping receiving 2 names which form the species name, the scientific name of the organism. This 2-name system was called binomial nomenclature, and the scientific names are formed in the generic and specific names, or genus and species names. You are probably familiar with tiers erected in the Linnaean hierarchy. We've probably memorized them in biology class before if you've had one. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. There are subtiers and supertiers below and above many of these tiers, like superfamilies and suborders. The Dinosauria, the group in which all dinosaurs belong, is a superorder. The dinosaurs are divided into 2 orders based on the structure of their hips. The lizard-hipped Saurischian and bird-hipped Ornithischian dinosaurs. These 2 orders are divided further, with the Saurischia, including the suborders of Theropoda and Sauropodomorpha, and the Ornithischia, including the ornithopods, Thyreophorans, and Marginocephalians, as its 3 suborders. Another uniting feature of dinosaurs is when they lived. To imagine when dinosaurs lived, we have to think in terms of deep time. Decades, centuries, millennia, these denominations of time are practically negligible in geologic terms. Eons, eras, periods, and epochs are not exactly measurements of time, since they represent an arbitrary number of years based on the age of geologic units that mark where these divisions occur. Most of these units were defined before we could even apply an age to them. We will discuss next week when and how we began to learn the age of the Earth and could apply absolute ages to these geologic time units. The earliest dinosaur fossils are 228 million years old, from the late Triassic sediments of the Valley of the Moon in Argentina. This is where the earliest known dinosaurs like Eoraptor, Herrerasaurus, and Paisanosaurus come from. Over the course of 160 million years, new species of dinosaurs evolved and went extinct until finally, 65.5 million years ago, the last of them were suddenly wiped out. While they were here, dinosaurs managed to proliferate to every continent, including Antarctica. It is usually the largest species we think of when imagining dinosaurs, but they ranged in size greatly, from the size of birds to the size of many elephants combined. We obviously cannot weigh fully fleshed dinosaurs to find out how massive they were, but from their skeletons we can build models, and these models can have their volumes measured, and that volume can be multiplied by density to arrive at a theoretical mass for a given dinosaur. Classically, this was done using water displacement, measuring the volume of a scale model by dunking it in water and calculating how much water was displaced by the model. These days, we can use digital models and software to apply algorithms to these models and calculate the volume, among other things like surface area, center of mass, etc., all digitally. Specimens and models are increasingly scanned into digital environments using CT instruments and optical surface scanners like structured light and laser scanners. I personally do a lot of work like this sort of paleontology, so throughout the course I'll share 3D digital models of specimens to view online. Paleontology is a relatively young discipline as far as facets of natural science go. Paleontology draws heavily from geology and biology, but also applies theories and techniques from across the spectrum of science. What makes a discipline scientific is the manner in which it is pursued. Empirical methodology, or the scientific method, is the process that unites all the sciences. The scientific method helps us systematically find unbiased answers to questions. It helps us overcome human nature by dividing fact from opinion in the pursuit of unraveling the natural mechanics and history of the universe. Making observations, hypothesizing an explanation for those observations, collecting data, testing hypotheses with experimentation, drawing conclusions from the results of our experiments, and data collection. This is how we as a species have come to understand natural phenomena and make predictions based on this understanding. We perpetually formulate and test hypotheses, even in our everyday lives. The hypotheses we formulate and withstand repeated tests are validated, so we continue to optimize our understanding of the world around us with each round of experimentation. The most successful and scientifically important hypotheses are eventually elevated to theory status. You've probably heard of famous scientific theories like the theory of general relativity, the theory of evolution, quantum theory, and other such things in the news. These are ideas that are widely accepted by the scientific community because they're continually tested from innumerable perspectives each day and continue to defy being disproven as we continue to refine them with even more testing. For example, quantum field theory is the basis for the Standard Model, which, in physics, defines at a subatomic level the composition and behaviors of atoms. Such formally elevated theories are not to be confused with the less formal, personally formed variety of theories, like the sort that could be interchanged with hunches. These theories are understood to define the mechanics of the universe they apply to. The data we collect continues to support such formal theories, and every reasonable prediction would show that only refined versions of these existing theories will better define the universe as we can detect and analyze it. I cannot stress enough how cornerstone theories are as bricks in our proverbial wall of knowledge. The data we collect through observation and experimentation may be qualitative data, like verbal descriptions or illustrations, or it might be quantitative data, which can be represented and worked with as numerical values. If you think about it, though, there are ways to quantify most qualitative data. At the very least, data can be lumped into groups based on similarities, and those groups can be assigned numerical values for analytical purposes. This is how modern taxonomy is practiced. In cladistics, physical traits are coded into a matrix, and each species or individual specimen is then statistically analyzed to find the most likely evolutionary relationships between each other based on the traits coded into the matrix.